Assalamu alaikum, good morning. I would request everyone for 20 seconds, a moment of silence for all the people around the world who have suffered, who have died, and who are in misery. So please, 30 seconds, a moment of silence. Assalamu alaikum. Today is our last day, but probably the beginning of another great Open Global Retreat next year. I know that many people have left. However, some of the key members of the Open Global community are here. We have a very special speaker as well. I'm going to make it very, very simple. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone, and I thanked everyone yesterday as well as today. Welcome Tawarruk Rahman Chaudhry, our legend.
Hello everyone. Thank you guys for watching the video. You guys made me feel special. Like Forrest Gump, Pakistani Forrest Gump. But before I tell you guys how cool I am and talk about some of the serious stuff, I just want to narrate a very funny story from my run across the country. I was, how many of you are familiar with the geography of Pakistan? Do you guys know Bahawalpur? Okay. Yeah, of course, yeah, because of what happened very recently. So I was running through Bahawalpur and I saw this uncle, he stopped me, he's like, what are you doing, aap kya kar rahe ho? And I told him that hum log bhaag ke ja rahe hain Karachi tak, we're running all the way to Karachi to raise awareness about education. And he said, aapko kiski badwa lagi hai? So that was one of the funniest moments. But I moved to the States in 2022 for my grad school in Boston. And when I got here for my master's degree, we had a class of around 200 students, and 95, it was a very technical degree, so 95% were international. And out of a class of 200 students, only 3 were Pakistanis. And that didn't sit well with me. I was like, we're the 5th or 6th most populous country in the world. And we talk about how we are the youngest, one of the youngest populations. But on the global stage, I only have 2 class fellows. And I saw my fellows from India. I think we had 60% class from India. And I wanted to do, I just started digging more, okay, why are there very few Pakistanis in the States? And then that's when I realized out of 500,000 international students that come to the US annually, less than 1% are Pakistanis, only 3,000. And so I started doing some more research. I found out 1 in every 3 kids in Pakistan is out of school, and of those who go to school, 50% drop out before middle school, 80% drop out before they get to high school, and only 5 to 10% make it to actual universities. And of those who go to the universities, 90% go to public universities where they don't even have basic infrastructure, like they don't even have their own university website, they don't have ERP systems. So that's when I woke up to the fact that we have to do something, and I just got that itch, I want to do something. But I just didn't know what I can do. So I was, I had that itch, and I had recently started running as well. And I see this guy, Paul Johnson. He was running across America at the time, LA to New York. This is 2024. This is March 24. So I see this guy, Paul Johnson. He was running across America, LA to New York, 3,000 miles. He was doing a fundraiser for veterans. He himself was a Navy officer. And he reached New York in 50 days. He was running 60 miles a day. And I ran the last 10 miles with him. And I just told somebody, I want to run across Pakistan. And I was like, they're going to shut me down. I was a bit unfit at the time as well. But they started asking me questions. What are you going to eat? And how's the terrain? And that's when I started breaking the whole thing down. And that's when I spoke to I started planning about it. I picked up the phone, I told my best friend, Ali, in Pakistan, I told him, bro, I'm coming to Pakistan and I'll start this run. And he's like, are you on drugs? Then I called my mom. I was like, mom's very supportive. I called my mom and she's like, तेरी शादी करने की उम्र हो गई है. And that's when I realized that I need to speak to people who are actual runners. I don't need to speak to my friends and my family who haven't run in their lives. So I go to my run club captain, I tell them, and then we start practicing, and then we start training. And then I go out, I told my boss, Greg, who himself is a runner, I told him, Greg, I need to take off for 6 weeks. He was kind enough to let me go for 6 weeks. And then on November 3rd, 2024, I started my run at my high school, Cadet College, Hassan Abdal. And if you can show us the picture, this is what I was looking like on day 1. I think I look pretty good. And after 30 days of running 28 miles a day, this is what I look like on day 34. I think I still look pretty good. I decided that I'll run across the country in November, and the reason for choosing November was November is usually, winter's about to start. It's a good weather. It's a good running weather. But 2024, Pakistan, because of climate-induced heat, we had the hottest November on record. So when I started in Hassan Abdal, I was running in 32 degrees Celsius heat, and then all of my training was in New York. But Pakistan, there was air pollution was a factor which I did not consider at all. And by the time I got to Lahore in November, around November 10th, that was the worst air quality anywhere in the world at the time. It felt like I was smoking 200 packs of cigarettes or plastic or whatever, and Lahore was under a lockdown at the time. But as somebody who likes to do hard things, most of you have done very hard things in your lives. You have to be delusional to the point that you believe in your vision and your idea before anybody else does. And you just have to keep going. So this whole run was a huge exercise in leadership and entrepreneurship for me as well. Because every day I had a crew of 6 people who were supporting me, who were treating me like a king, like this guy, he has to get to Karachi. And they used to feed off of my energy. So like, I can't be the one with my head down. Even if I'm in pain, I just have to, fake a smile and put on that energy so that my crew, they feed off of that energy. And I set myself a goal of $1 million. And when I told a few people, and some of my friends, some of my mentors, they were like, 50,000 kar lo, 10,000 kar lo, be realistic. And I'm like, bro, I'm running across the country. I'm not, doing a marathon or something. So when I set a goal of $1 million, I started fundraising 3 months in advance. I knocked a lot of doors. I met so many people. I started reaching out to sponsors, and we got $50,000 in sponsorships before my run even started. And by the time I got to Karachi, I had raised $200,000 on day 35, so one day prior to my run was finishing. And I was still dreaming of that one person to come in, and because $1 million, it's not a lot of money. It is a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money. It's like, how I was thinking is, it's enough money to buy land or a house in DHA Karachi or DHA Lahore. That's how, I was doing my math. So like if somebody has a spare property in one of these cities, and they're like, if I sell this property, it can educate 5,000 kids, somebody will do it. And on the very last day, around 600 people had already donated. And then this one guy, Amir Azam of TriFit, it's a fitness studio in Karachi, he came up with $500,000 check and got us to $750,000. So I think that was a pretty big win for me, and I personally would have taken $100,000 as well, but getting to that point was, I got super happy. But I think a bigger win or validation for me was that you guys saw my mom, she was emotional. But when you see your dad crying and getting emotional, I come from a family of educators. And as all of you, operators, entrepreneurs, or people who've done hard things, I think there comes a point when we realize that family and our close ones, no achievement is bigger than seeing them happy. So when I saw my dad, he's been running his schools since 1991. He started his school in Taxila at a time when there was no other school in the whole locality. And now, after 34 years, 85 to 90% kids go to school. And my dad coming up to me, Beta, what I've done over 35 years equates to what you did in 34 days. So that was a big validation for me. So I think I have a lot of stories from my run. There's one that I'd like to tell. I was running through Kharia. How many of you know Kharia? So Kharia is close to Jhelum. I was running through Kharia, and I was running, and I used to have this RV with me where my crew used to be. And this one guy, he comes on his motorcycle. He comes in and stops his motorcycle. He's like, "Bhai, kya kar rahe aap?" मैंने कहा भाग रहा हूँ, I'm running. And then he's like, क्यों भाग रहे? मैंने कहा because I want to get to Karachi and raise funds for education. And he's like, I saw you on Instagram आप New York में होते हैं. I told him yes. He's like, I want to go to New York as well because I'm unemployed right now. And he was going through a mental breakdown. He started ranting how he's unemployed. He couldn't find a job for the past 2 years. But he said he doesn't have money for me, but he had good wishes for me, and I go my own way. He went back home. Next day, 40 miles, I covered 40 miles, and I see him again on his motorbike. He comes again. He brings 75,000 rupees and 200 pounds. I asked him, where did you get this money? And he's like, I did a mini fundraiser with my friends and family, and I collected this money for you, and I had 200 pounds, जो कि, when रिश्तेदार जाते हैं, घर जाते हैं, किसने $1 दे दिया, pound दे दिया, so he had collected those notes, and he brought those notes for me. And I can't even tell you what I was feeling in the moment, coming out and supporting. So, I mean, it was a super emotional journey throughout for me, and to be honest, we were also having fun. I was with my boys, you know, I had 5 or 6 of my boys with me, and I feel like one of the other business lessons or things in teamwork or leadership was that my brother, he was the guy who was managing everything for me. He was my crew chief, and he had to make sure everything on ground is well aligned. We get the security clearances, because I ran through the border of Punjab and Sindh, and which isn't as dangerous as people make it to be, but there were some concerns. So making sure all the coordinations are happening, making sure everybody is well fed. So having somebody on your side who can work in the shadows and who can take on as much work off your plate as you can. And I was the one who was trying to reach out to as many sponsors, as many partners, and I had a team for that as well. So having a solid team is something that really elevates whatever you do. Yeah, that's all for me. If anybody wants to have any questions about this crazy wild project of mine, I'm happy to answer.
Great, absolutely great. I run a non-profit in Pakistan, and I raised 1.2 million. You raised 750 and 15.
Or two months, right? This is amazing, really amazing. And I think we have to do this with you. Because it looks like I'm running too much, but for less money. So you did a great job. By the way, last advice, Kapshari Ravi.
Advice is a question. It's so
भाई हमारी एज के लोग जो है ना वो आपसे सिर्फ एक ही सवाल पूछेंगे। तो चले, well done.
Thanks.
जी।
Thank you so much. I'm happy to help in any way. Thank you for doing what you do.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Thank you, very inspiring. I'm also from Asnabad, and glad to see an Italian doing such work. I also live in Boston, so in case you need something, access or whatever, feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll come back there, somebody else.
Just a quick follow-up or additional comment. So whenever I meet my Italian seniors from my high school, cadet college, and whatever the age difference is, we naturally just say Bhaijan. And I met this other senior, and his son is my age, and I'm good friend with his son, and I met his dad. I'm like, Bhaijan, kaise aap? Ji Bhaijan. And he's like, bro, why are you calling my dad Bhaijan? Like, you won't get it, but thank you, Bhaijan.
So, love your story. So what are you doing from now? Like now you run, you raise some money, is there a continued process? That's the first question. Second is, tell us a little bit about the journey, like when you were going through Pakistan. It's so fascinating. You ran 28 miles a day for 30 days straight. So what was your fuel like? How did you train for that? And I'd love to hear that story.
Yeah, so the first part, so right now I'm working in New York as a turnaround and restructuring consultant with Alex Partners. We help companies through their Chapter 11 bankruptcies. And on the side, the pain point that I identified, that why do Pakistani students don't come to the US? So there were 2 pain points. Number one, information asymmetry, because there's so few of us, and those who get here, we all operate in our own silos, and we all do great things. But since we operate in our silos, sometimes, the information doesn't go back. Let's just keep it at that. And number 2, access of capital. Grad school, undergrad, it is extremely expensive. And some of the other countries from where a lot of international students come, they have programs where their local banks and financial institutions, they give out those loans. And so Pakistani students don't have access to student loans and don't have access to information. For that, I've already built a platform called Greenbridge.ai, which helps with the information asymmetry. बच्चों को बताता है कि आपको AI recommends what universities are good for you, what universities you should go for based on your career background and your ambition. And then it also has a marketplace for student loans where students can come in. We also do a lot of content and we do community events as well, in-person events too. My eventual goal is to be a bank and to be a lender of choice for Pakistani students, and then eventually scale it globally. But Pakistan is a market, as somebody who's passionate about it, test it there, and then make it global. So that is where I'm at. We have a few products that are of course AI native, which are already out there. So I'm happy to talk more about it after. And number one. Number two, about the journey. So journey it was hard. It was hard, and you never feel like you're perfectly trained for anything like this. You just have to take that leap. Okay, even if I'm 80% trained, but my coach used to tell me, you should be 80% trained but 100% fit. So you don't want to go into one of these adventures, training too much and getting an injury. So and 2 weeks leading up to my run, I was supposed to do no activity, stop running, stop going to the gym so that my body can rest and recover and get ready. And those were the hardest 2 weeks of my life, because I used to run during my training 15 to 16 miles a day. I did that for at least 5 to 6 months leading up to my run. So I was very confident in my training, and the whole run wasn't just an adventure, it was also a celebration of the 6 months that I put in before that. So I was just out there having fun. So that's a bit on the training part. And I didn't train my upper body during my training. I trained my lower legs all the time. So every day in the gym was a leg day, number one. Uske baad, during the journey, one of the challenges I faced was heat, I've talked about it, but was also nutrition. Because I had to consume 6,000 calories a day for 35 days. And I'm a normal human, I'm not a beast. So I had to eat like an animal. So 6,000 calories, getting up to that, usme phir, in the first few days, I was focused on quality and quantity. But after 2 days, quality went out of went off the table. And then I was just like, bring whatever you can. I was eating a lot of burgers, a lot of sandwiches, as much junk as I can, making sure my protein is going in as well, but a lot of carbs. And by day 3, because of my body hadn't adopted to consuming so much calories, I was so bloated at the time. I felt like I was a balloon, and that was the hardest day for me. And I think I walked for like 8 hours straight. I did not stop because I knew if I stop, I wasn't able to run that day, but I just didn't want to stop. And from a mindset perspective, I feel like I wasn't thinking 30 seconds ahead of me. I was only thinking in 30 seconds, and if I'm being generous or if I'm thinking too far ahead of me, probably 30 minutes, not beyond that. Because agle 30 minutes mein kya ho raha hai, fine. My brother, my crew chief, he used to come to me, ke kal hum Lahore pahunchenge, this is where we'll stay. I'm like, I don't need to hear all of that. Take me wherever you will, I will go sleep. And then I think ek aur cheez, some of the funny moments. So we were in South Punjab. We used to live in army. My brother, he's in the army, by the way. So we used to stay in all the army messes, and jo bhi army ka jidhar infrastructure tha, we used to utilize that. But South Punjab mein, one of our friends, he recommended ke mera cousin hai, why don't you guys stay with them? I'm like, sure, let's just, see the local culture, ye log kaise rehte hain. And those were young boys, they were having fun, they were partying that night. And that was a big annoyance to us, because they were constantly asking us, aap log kya kar rahe hain, kaise kar rahe hain, and they were, they were having fun. And uske baad, then again, we made the same mistake. We were close to Bahawalpur mein, there was this other spot. Why do I have all the stories from Bahawalpur? But there was this other spot which is super close to India border. I'm forgetting the name of the gaon jo desert mein jaake aage aata. And the locals, they wanted to host us. We go in there, and 2 ghante lag ke hum unke ghar pahunche. And as soon as we got there, they had their pakwan, जो कि पूरे गांव में जब शादियां होती हैं, the guy who cooks, those meals, he was there, and they had prepared very grand dinner for us. But we ate, and I asked the guy, where's the bathroom? I need to go to the bathroom. I need to wash my hands. And he brings in the lota, and he started washing my hand and throwing water in. And I felt very honored, this is a sign of respect. And after half an hour, then I asked him again, I need to go to the bathroom, where's the bathroom, so that I can brush my teeth. And then he ignores me again. And I thought to myself, maybe there's women inside, and they have this rural setup, he doesn't want to let me in, so maybe there's something more cultural. I go to sleep, I didn't brush my teeth, I didn't go to the bathroom, I just slept, I was very tired. At 3 a.m. in the morning, I had to go to the bathroom. And I wake up that guy. They were all chilling in the room next to me, and they were watching their TikToks. And I told him, bro, I need to go to the bathroom. And he got angry at me, and he took me to some spot in the fields next to him. He's like, do whatever you have to. But those were the things that we really face, and when you're on ground, you realize how much of a privilege we have, and how much of an opportunity we have to give back and impact lives. Because as soon as you move 1 mile south of Lahore towards Karachi, you're stepping at least 10 years back in time. And by the time you get to Karachi, you've already seen 300 years or 400 years back in time. That's how bad the situation is in south of Punjab and rural Sindh. So, and Karachi, it gets better, but in between, there's nothing. There's a lot of work to be done. People don't have access to bathrooms. Because I did not see a single kid. I ran through Sindh for 2 weeks. And throughout those 2 weeks, I did not see a single kid who was healthy. जो हम देसी लोग होते हैं, हम कहते हैं मोटा, तगड़ा, ताज़ा बच्चा. I didn't see a single one healthy kid. Almost all of the kids were malnutrition. Either there was something wrong with their heads or their eyes. They couldn't walk properly, and they didn't even know that. First couple of days, my content team, they were taking pictures of the kids, and they said, Tabarak bhai, these guys, their eyes are very beautiful. Because every other kid had, a different colored eye. And then we started seeing that even the elderly or the adults, their eyes were, they had some infection. I'm not exactly sure what kind of infection they have. But that's when you realize that in most of the parts of the country, our fight is not just with education or lack of education. It's with poverty, it's with access to food, it's with access to water, access to bathrooms, so very basic necessities. And I did that, and as soon as I finished my run, I spent 2 or 3 days in Pakistan, and I was back in my very nice apartment in Manhattan, and I can't even tell you how bad it was for me mentally. It took me probably 3 weeks to recover physically from the whole journey, but mentally it took at least 3 to 4 months. Because I don't like to acknowledge, but if you guys have ever seen these homeless people across the city in Manhattan, shouting at random people. I wasn't shouting at random people, but I was shouting with myself, and I was just screaming. And so that's where my mind was at. But I think I'm oversharing right now, so I'll stop.
Thank you so much for sharing. I have 2 questions. One is, given the kind of breakfast we just had, and the sort of typical Desi diet, and not really a particular culture of fitness in the country. I used to run, I ran in high school, and then came here, ran in college, and I realized that the training just wasn't there to be competitive in the way that I wanted to be. So just wondering, sort of, having gone through this and raised money not only for education, but perhaps also interacted with people, as you were saying, people asking you, why are you running? Do you see any ways to sort of, get people more inspired about taking fitness or running more seriously? You don't need a lot of resources to run. You need resources for certain sports but running is easier, less costly anyway. That's my first question. Second one is really more sort of a personal reflection, which I'd love to hear from you. So nearly 30 years ago, the summer before I went off to college, my parents insisted that I hadn't seen enough of the country and that we were going to go by road from Karachi, which is where I'm from, all the way to Hunza. And I was terribly unhappy about being stuck with, in a car for like weeks rather than hanging out with my friends, who I probably wouldn't see again for a while. But it's one of the things that I still remember to this day, because I really hadn't seen the country in the way that I did. We went everywhere. And it gave me an appreciation for the physical sort of experience of the country and meeting people from all kinds of backgrounds, seeing these kind of villages and all of that. Anyway, I'd love to hear from you a little bit more about that as well. Sort of, you just shared a little bit of the observations about southern Punjab and Sindh, but just, your experience of actually having traveled the country on foot, not even in a car, what are some of your other takeaways from that experience? Thank you.
Okay, so I think I'll take the second question of what I saw, and I'll talk about some of the positives as well. So not just in terms of landscape, but I'll tell the story of Chichawatni. Chichawatni is a town in Punjab, south of Lahore. Chichawatni, when I was in Chichawatni, I met this young guy, Fawaz. Fawaz is 22 years old, 23 years old, probably now. And Fawaz runs his own digital marketing company. And he used to work for some guy who used to sell on Amazon. And then he learned all of that. He started doing his own Amazon business, started doing his own eBay business, cracked the code. And now he's trained 1,200 people in his village, mostly women, to work online, make money online, sell on eBay, sell on Amazon. So those were some of the positive takeaways that if you equip our youth with technology and some mentorship, some guidance, just show them the way that this is how you make money, this is how you make an impact. These kids, they want to do good in their life and they're looking for heroes. When I was running through the country, I told you the story of that Babaji, I call him. Babaji was like, aapko badua lagi hai kisi ki. But when I was running through Arshad Nadeem ka gaon, I'm forgetting the name. Arshad Nadeem ka kya gaon tha? Do you guys know? Do you guys know Arshad Nadeem? Okay, Arshad Nadeem is the guy who threw the javelin, and Pakistan won its first Olympic gold medal. And I was running through his city, his village. Mia Channu, yeah. So Mia Channu is like one of the remote. It was through Mia Channu. A lot of kids, they started running with me. Bachche mere sath bhagte the. So they started running with me in their, in their chappal. And when I told them I'm running across the country, I'll be the first person to do so. And they were like, Arshad ki tarah aap bhi record todoge. And jitne bhi bachos, like all the kids I talked to in Mia Channu, they were like, we want to break the record. We want to break the record. We want to be like Arshad. So I think the youth, that's one of the takeaways, that the youth, they're looking for heroes, they're looking for inspiration wherever it comes from. And just that older generation, which due to circumstances couldn't get educated as well as they should have had, they're not as hopeful and they were skeptical. That was one of the observations. Other than that, Pakistan is incredibly beautiful. We have a lot of fields, we have all kinds of terrain. Running through Sindh was very fun. I was running through Sakhar. Sakhar has some semblance of deserts, but it's also a bit hilly. That was a surprise for me. What else? Yeah, I think I'll go back to the first question. Is there a running movement or a fitness movement in our country? So I feel like there is some chatter about fitness. Running is becoming a global thing now. It's cool to run now, and that's why I ran too. But Pakistan is home to a few running clubs in Islamabad, Karachi, Lahore. There's big fitness communities, big fitness routes, and running has become a social activity too. And there's a few people who are, and even the Pakistani runners in America, I I've seen them, they sponsor a lot of kids in the country to, go out and, but they buy them their shoes. Running is not cheap, by the way. Running is not very expensive. You need to get good shoes, you need to get good watches. I mean, you can go down the rabbit hole of buying as much as you want, but there's a movement. But I think on the mass level, our problems are beyond where we start caring about these luxuries of having a good health.
So Tabarak, congratulations, and so proud of you. 26 months, it's like a marathon. You ran 34 marathons virtually, which is incredible. I've been running for the last 30 years, but my limit is 5K a day. And no matter how hard I try, and I'm a treadmill runner, I cannot run outside. What motivated you to really stretch to that level, to put 26 miles a day? I mean, just thinking about it, it's so wonderful. Was there a mental game that you worked on?
I think mentally, I always knew I'm very strong, so I was running for 35 days, 30 miles a day for 35 days. Mentally, I knew I'm very strong. I was 11 years old when I went to my high school cadet college, and we used to follow a certain routine, certain fitness routine. Wake up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and then sleep by 11. We had a structured programming throughout. And being out and about on my own since a very young age, and then when I was in Karachi, I've been living away from the family since I was 11 for the last 16, 17 years. So I think that has created a sense of problem solving, that has just injected problem solving within my DNA. And so mentally I knew that, and there was a lot of eyes on me because I had announced my run in August, 3 months before I was actually going to run. And so there was a lot of eyes on me, and there are times when you believe in yourself, and then for some certain extra motivation, you're like, it's you against the world. And then people are coming in, joining you, supporting you with their dollars, with their appreciation, with everything that they can, and that really kept me going.
Tabarak, first of all, as Tariq said, I'm a marathon runner. Amir, my friend, we run quite a bit together. But usually after one marathon, we do take a break of 1 month of doing nothing. 34 days is phenomenal. We were running today and we were talking about how much kela we should take and everything, and we were only doing 8 miles or something. So this is crazy. So first of all, congratulations on that. From a athletic point of view, forget the education part, this is crazy. On this part about youth, I think you said one word which triggered this whole thing. People are looking for heroes. There is no question about it. I'm going to just say this statement, and I hope you can join this journey with us also. About 2.5 or 3 years ago, my daughter, Alicia, I wish she was here. She was up all night with youth and she's sleeping now. But 3 years ago, she was in Pakistan at the age of 16 or so. And she got recruited in volleyball, women's volleyball team of Pakistan national team. And she was super excited. But in this excitement, she realized at the age of 16, when she's not even a college player in Pakistan, US, how is it possible that then she's one of the best players in the national team in Pakistan? So she made us start this non-profit, and this is exactly what you are doing. And I feel youth can change this thing, that the non-profit is, let's build a school of 1,000 girls, her focus is girls only, to make them elite national players for Olympics. She has recruited a coach from Stanford, one of the best coaches from Italy, Giovanni, who has taken the most players to Olympics in the life of all the coaches in the world, and been in the Guinness Book of World Record also, and few other people. And they all have joined this non-profit. But one of the underlying things was, how do you motivate the nation? And I love this thing. This is a complex journey. But we help her, but I've realized it's people like her, it's people like you who need to get together. And we need to support you, but get out of the way of you guys figuring this out. Her bringing the board the way she did it, none of us could. We couldn't figure it out how she's going about and bringing these people to her board. And I think one of the things you guys can do, and maybe you can figure this out how to do it, is figure out all these people at your age and younger and bring them together and start thinking. Because we have lost at least 2 generations in Pakistan from 19 plus. It is the age 0 to age 12 is what you need to work on. So that's what my comment is.
Yeah. Thank you. I think there's a great opportunity for that. And I work with this kid called, his name is Ahal. He's a 15-year Scotch player, number 2 in Pakistan, number 1 in Sindh. And last year he couldn't make it to international circuits because he did not have enough funding. And he couldn't get the donations or there's this foundation, Bard Foundation, they support athletes that did not have enough funds to send it through. But this guy, he does content like anything. Like his Instagram reels, they get millions of views. He just doesn't know how to monetize it and how to, use that as a tool. So I think my run, I did not have a lot of followers on Instagram or across platforms when I was jumping in. But because of my corporate training, I know how to make a good slide deck. I know how to reach out. I know how to, use my contacts, warm, cold, whatever. Let them do their own thing. And somebody just becomes a connector. And these brands, if they could give somebody like me $75,000 just to have their name on, on my shirt and make 1 or 2 reels for them, I think these kids, they have the opportunity to do that. So just something to consider.
So Tabarak, an opportunity for you, as you know, I'm already recruiting you to be a part of Open.
Yeah.
I think Open is a network, and this is probably a gap, and all my colleagues who agree or disagree. You can start an initiative because there are some people like Anisha and a few others, and then older people like us who really are into athletics and will support you. And then we have a non-profit to back you up. And Open can be that organization, and you can get guidance how to monetize. You can get guidance. You talk about Bard Foundation Trader brought Razak out a few months ago on our webinar, and we did that together. But I think there's an opportunity here because there are people who can really provide you support. You have what we don't have, and we can provide you what you need. So I think there could be an opportunity for you guys to know.
Thank you. You want to say something? Here.
Tabarak, amazing. And you can tell I'm not a runner, neither an athlete. I want to first comment on, you said you go to the bathroom in the fields. When I was in Karachi, maybe your age, we were with an organization called Karachi JCs. There's no that. Yeah. So anyway, we used to get UN funds to make soap pits in the villages in near Sindh because people didn't have bathrooms. Yeah. And that was a big project, not funded by Pakistan but the UNDP. So this has been a problem for a long time and still is, fortunately. Tariq asked you about motivation. I wanted to understand that. I have friends who run marathons. Their objectives are to run in every continent and things like that. So that motivation to run across Pakistan must be amazing. And what is your motivation now going forward? What are you going to do? And with the 750K you raise, it doesn't go far if you're sending people to the West to study. So I know Bhai has got his project where he's sending kids to engineering and medical government colleges, not the great colleges like not lumps, because your money has to go far. So there are so many unschooled kids, 0 to whatever, who don't even go to school. They don't see a school. That's where our problem starts. So I think we need to figure out, Aslam Khan talked about poverty, big problem, but poverty is rooted somehow in education as well. So we all collectively need to figure that out and resolve that issue. What do you
I think, so first of all, the $750,000 that we raised, that is going directly to TCF. So I'm not a trustee to that. Money went to TCF, they know what to do about it. I think it's they know how to get the best ROI out of it, number one. Number two, what I 2022 when Pakistan was experiencing a large inflow of VC funds. We raised close to 200 million. I could be wrong, don't quote the numbers, but whatever VC dollars that we raised in startups, all of the founders of those startups, they were educated in the US, college educated. All the VCs, I can name, I think Kulsum, I don't know if she was here yesterday. Kulsum was there, then there's Faisal Aftab, there's a couple others. They're all educated outside of Pakistan, and then that's where they get the access to the network, access to capital, and they get exposed to how big the market is, and their dreams get bigger. So my goal personally on a personal front, living through that journey of being an international student, is to get as many Pakistanis as I can, and do it in a way that's profitable to me as well. So for now, my goal is to help with all the ancillary services, build a platform, and then I think we don't need more than $100 million to double the number of Pakistanis who come to the US just by give them loans. We need to give these Pakistani kids student loans. Everybody in the world takes those loans. So right now, as a Pakistani student, you get student loans to come to the US at 16%, 18%. In India, you get those loans for 7%, 8%. Why do, as Pakistanis, we pay that extra 10% premium? You have to pay double. So I think there's opportunity for that. And around that, as international students, we just Pakistani, and we're a very small subset. We spend $500 million annually in the US, in tuition, in housing, in traveling. So that's a big opportunity, and nobody really, either Pakistan, the term Pakistan is so unsexy that nobody's ever gone after this market. So Pakistanis in the US, like we, or even like your kids, there's no specific product, no specific service provided for those kids as well. There's no specific scholarships for those kids or those communities.
When they do match, they're not able to easily and efficiently move to the US initially because it takes money. So for me, if I was in your position, I would figure out what that MVP looks like. I would figure out what those terms look like. You already have your numbers to say, hey, why are we charging 17% when we could be charging 8%? It's because of greed / lack of competition. If you bring in competition, you're funding these loans at 7%. Those 18% people will run out of business. But now for you, you're saying, hey, I don't want to get extra 10%. For a lot of entrepreneurs, that's a business decision. To say, hey, I'm giving up 10% for a reason, whatever that is, to cannibalize the market, right, or to accomplish your end goal. And then to say all of these AKU or whatever market you go after, how do I get them to double down on the vision? Because initially I gave them money when no one did. And you heard stories yesterday of people who came to open, got funding, and scaled aggressively. So I think from my perspective, the question that I would pose to you is, given, Tariq Mango's offer, like how would you monetize this network to help your company, to help your vision scale?
I think there's two ways to do it. I like how this is turning into a business but I think there's two ways to do it. One is that there's a lot of marketing dollars to be made. I host these events, so right now I'm doing a bunch of things, just trying to get evidence of how to monetize these things and what of these things can actually be scaled and be part of my flywheel. So one of the things that I do is I host events for young Pakistani professionals. In New York, I did one in Chicago, we're doing one tonight in DC as well. And for all these events, it is super easy for me to get sponsors. And one of the sponsors that I work with, it's a company that helps Pakistanis send money from US back to Pakistan. And there's so many other opportunities. I don't monetize these events as much, but just by getting 80 to 100 Pakistanis in one room, you guys have done events, you guys know this better than me, but 80 to 100 Pakistanis in one room get good social media content out of it. You can think like, you're Walt Disney, you have theme parks, you have entertainment, you have long-form stuff. So there's many channels to monetize this. You can have a social app, mentorship app, just for Pakistanis as well. Back to the loans part. So the Pakistanis who come to the US for their grad school or for their undergrad,
for one reason or the other, they're the top 1% of the 1%. Because anybody who goes to university in Pakistan is the top 5% of Pakistan. And because 95% kids, they just don't make it to university. So it's a natural selection. And on top of that, if you're coming here for undergrad, you're also socioeconomically, you're well off than most of the people. And so you're smart, socioeconomically you're responsible. And then you incentivize that good behavior of paying back that money or paying back those loans by, impact on credit scores, impact on how well you do in your careers. So all of those things, I think it's a tried and tested model. It's just that I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. Lending has happened since the day one of, whenever this civilization or mankind is, and I think it will keep on, the business will stay as is. It's just that it's an underserved market. Pakistanis are underserved, and somebody needs to just, be that person to, okay, I'm gonna fix this market, I'm gonna serve this market, and if, in the process I can make some profit, why not? Yeah.
What's the website where you have this information?
It's called dreambridge.ai.
Dreambridge.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's a bridge to your dreams.
Thank you. Great story. Congratulations. What I want to talk about is you had your employer that you talked to, you had your trainer here in the United States that you talked to. What was the breakdown of what you raised, the 750 that came from within Pakistan and that came from here, and specifically then came from Pakistanis versus non-Pakistanis? And in terms of, I've heard TCF does galas in New York or Washington and they raise $4, $5, $6 million. What plans do you have perhaps to run across the United States now that you're here in New York, and perhaps just capturing the audiences that raise money in dollars versus rupees, and I understand that's important as well, but when you're raising money, have Americans, non-Pakistanis, played a role in what you're trying to do? And do you wish to capitalize that market, or do we continue to operate in our Pakistani silos instead of building alliances with people that are here?
I think my whole campaign was focused on my networks and people I know through my work or people I know essentially. So non-Pakistanis, just non-Pakistanis, US-based. I think the only dollars I raised were from my company, my employer, my team based, I think my company, my colleagues. They contributed around $20,000, and then some of my running group people around it, they were able to raise some dollars, but it wasn't material enough. But most of the money came from Pakistanis and Pakistanis in the US, and I raised, okay, let me give you guys a breakdown. $750,000 is total I raised. 550 came from private, so let's leave it at that. So 200,000 is what I raised from crowdfunding. Out of those $200,000, I knew that I wanted to get sponsorships and I wanted to monetize the run. So I got $75,000 from corporate sponsors. Most of these corporates were based in Pakistan or targeting Pakistani audiences. And one of them didn't even want any marketing money. They just wanted to support that. They came in, I think that was day 15 of my run, came in, called me, gave me $50,000 check. So the remaining $125,000, $60,000 is what I raised from my friends. $15,000 is this one big sponsor from Seattle. He came in, and then $40,000 was this one other person, also in the US, Pakistani in the US, who came in and matched whatever we had raised over the past. So we raised $40,000. They came in with a $40,000 match. So that was a breakdown, but going back to, I think, if I have to simplify it, most of the money came from Pakistanis in the US and corporates in Pakistan. Yeah, and I think there's definitely an opportunity right now. So what my work with TCF is to help them. So there's this guy, Eric Temple. What TCF does is, I can just share my experience. What TCF does is, they do these galas, Pakistanis come together, they raise their dollars. But what they really are now trying to do is get in front of non-Pakistanis and some of the Pakistanis, they don't like to go to Dallas. You know, you're either too busy, you just don't want to be in front of a lot of people. So those one-on-ones with these, people who have who want to donate, and you just need to convince them with numbers. Okay, this is my impact, this is how much, and that 1 million will get you $500,000 million. So I think that's what they're doing right now. I'm not actively involved with that. I think I'm busy building Green Bridge and doing my own job, and I run sometimes. But I think that is something that definitely needs to be done. If we can get the Jewish community, they like to give back. They like to give back. They're very philanthropic minded. If we can get one big guy from the Jewish community to sponsor 100 schools in Pakistan, how difficult is that for them to fund that? I don't think it's difficult at all. Because I work in turnaround and restructuring. It's very, Jew-heavy community who works in the financial sector. And they had this annual gala. And in their after party, just for young professionals, they raised $2 million. Just from like 200 to 300 people. Just the young professionals. That's how much they give back. And if we can get those dollars to fund, because education is not a Pakistani issue, it's not a Muslim or a Jewish issue, it's a humanity issue. Like every kid in the world, regardless of whatever their religion is, needs to go to school. So if we can convince one guy who can support and who wants to feel good and aligns with the mission, I think we can, take it forward.
Well, thank you so much. The only thing is we don't want to be called Yehudi agents if we do that in Pakistan. You know the mentality. But let's give a round of applause to Tabarak. And before I do that, I just want to thank everyone. This has been a labor of love. And many people work very hard. And if we don't get on the phone, hang up the phone. This has started with a lot of people who work tirelessly. But there is 3 musketeers, Zulfi, myself, and where is Ahmed? No, stop working, come here. We would text each other around midnight, and not even text. Initially started as a text, and then after a few days, joint call. So it means 3 people are on the call, and what is the call? That the hotel is not working, or something is not working. So it was very difficult, and then Adil graciously raised hand for DC to be a chapter to host this. So thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And everyone here has very strong fingerprints on our success. So thank you so much. Let's end this with obviously comments from Adil, but we'll put our chairs together. So maybe some of us can sit on the chair, and then second row and then third row, and we'll capture everyone on that. Tabarak, we are trying to officially adopt you into Open. 90% we learn from you, and 10% you No, you could be TCF.
Farida, you own everybody.
You could be, your giving is so much that you can be TCF as well as Open. And we have 2 different organizations. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to thank the Open Global team, Tariq in particular, as well as, of course, Amir and Zulfi and all the volunteers, the executive team. It's true that DC put up its hand and said we would love to host, but really Tariq said, don't worry about it. Global's going to take the heavy lifting. You guys just have to support on the ground. And I have to say that Tariq and the Global team really led from the front, and that's what made this possible. We just did a small part, but really it's the Global team that put this together. So thank you so much. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for making this happen.
Awesome.